I cannot stress it enough. Knowledge is power. Let me put it this way, as a professor of mine once described it. If your newspaper were looking to build a new print shop, the powers that be would call in architects. They would survey the property, take stress tests on the land, check on zoning regulations, design blueprints, consider ventilation and delivery space, and come with a full report. If your manager had to deal with a sexual harassment complaint, she would contact the attorneys who would conduct interviews, look at case precedents, consider the evidence, and come with a recommendation. So what if you were trying to determine what kinds of stories to publish on your online news service, as was described on pages 301 and 302 of your text? I would say the staff and your immediate supervisor did exactly what they need to do. In this case, the GM did not take the information to heart, but it is not your responsibility to make the final decision. Your job is to gather all the data you can, to prepare the best way you can to make the best argument. And when you are the GM, you will know from what we've discussed this semester that if you have the right people in the right positions, and you prepare them to gather this kind of information, it is in your best interest to take note. If you want to persuade the higher-ups, it is going to be critical to have some cognitive theories and approaches up your sleeve. On page 309 of your text is an excellent table that describes various decision-making and behavioral biases. You need to be aware of these because, number one, you are likely to practice some, and you want to be able to detect them in others. The three theories we are going to talk about will help you navigate through these. One is the theory of cognitive dissonance. Dissonance is that feeling we get when we are uncomfortable, when we are uncertain. You can use this. The theory posits that when individuals are faced with information or a suggestion that is contrary to their own, they feel dissonance or discomfort. They will react in one of three ways. A. They'll be persuaded and change their mind to align with yours. B. They'll reject fully as a means of maintaining their own comfort. But in reality, we know they'll still have that niggling feeling in the back of their mind they may be wrong. Or C. They'll do some research that will either support their point of view, which is not a bad thing because they may find some information you hadn't thought of, or that information will further persuade them to your point of view. Prospect theory, developed by Kahneman and Tversky, posits the individual preference depends on framing and presentation. If the issue is framed positively, then the opposing point of view should be avoided. If the issue is framed negatively, on the other hand, the opposing choice should be pursued. For example, you are a recent digital media production graduate with a desire to become a television reporter. You can continue doing your own stand-ups, boosting your YouTube video, and working at Lowe's while you apply for all manner of jobs. Or you can take a part-time job at the local radio station where you will do an on-air shift, provide play-by-play for the local high school football team, and record commercials and host remotes. If option 1, working at Lowe's and doing your own stand-ups, is viewed as a good thing because it gives you more time to go on interviews, to do job shadowing, and to hone your craft, you should run from the radio job. But if option 1 means you are not even remotely working professionally in the field, and that you are not gaining a more diverse experience, then you should jump at the radio job. Finally, myth-making is when we think we are right and are unwilling to listen to others because we want to maximize our chances of winning and we believe we are always right. This perpetuates the Model 1 leader, the one who always casts blame. Your goal as a media manager should be to be a Model 2 leader, one who asks the tough questions and does the research, or who advocates for his or her position, but insists that others do the same so all information possible is available. The reality is, as much as we'd like to be able to make decisions quickly and simply, that is rarely the case. For me personally, this is difficult. I like to get as much information as I can and then get to work and, if we face trials, adapt. I'm a sprinter. I have a colleague, on the other hand, who is much more a plotter. She wants all the variables laid out. She wants to pro and con everything and nitpick until she finds the least objectionable result. Drives me crazy. But to be fair, I drive her crazy too. And it takes both types to make things happen. Too many of me, and we are diving headlong into projects and constantly having to adjust. Too many of her, and we are meeting constantly but never doing anything. That's the harsh reality. I love the definition your text gives of knowledge on page 312. Knowledge is a specific kind of information suited to solving a problem or enabling decision-making that is developed through experience and conducting research. I know how to cover and write about a football game, but that information is not suited to solving a problem in advertising. Knowledge only comes from experience in the advertising field and research about like issues that provides information that enables me to make the decisions necessary to solve my advertising problem. When we talk about sharing information so we can gain knowledge, it is necessary to look at motivation, as we did in Chapter 3. And to do that, we need to think about what demotivates people to share, so we can work to overcome those factors, and what in turn motivates and encourages sharing of information. Remember, very rarely in the media are you going to be working alone. This is a team effort. Another way we can increase knowledge is through communities of practice where individuals in a like area support one another and generate knowledge through shared experiences and information. They develop trust in one another and, when necessary, may provide a unified front. This also may create competition that, when healthy and not in a cutthroat manner, may spark all areas of the newsroom or firm to greater achievement. Finally, be aware that power and conflict will exist. The sports people always want more time. The advertisers are after the editorial staff for blasting one of the biggest clients. Upper management wants middle management to do more with less. Again, this is where the notion that knowledge is power comes in. As a media manager, it is your job to utilize the knowledge where necessary to balance power or when to relinquish some. Remember the old saying, if at first you don't succeed, try again? Not to sound too little engine that could-ish, but in this industry, it is going to be critical that you learn from your mistakes and never give up. For one thing, create knowledge. This could be tacit, explicit, or cultural. Tacit knowledge is personal and often intuitive. It's very much the I don't know how to do it, I just do, which makes it very difficult to share. Explicit knowledge, on the other hand, is very shareable because it can be verbalized or illustrated in reports, budgets, technical standards, and the like. Cultural knowledge is knowing the organization's beliefs, ideals, and rules, and how they coexist with the company's purpose. The goal, then, as we seek to grow our knowledge, is to take the tacit knowledge and make it explicit, so that it can be shared and understood by all involved who can adopt, modify, or reject it. I will tell you, when I became a professor, I had to figure this out. For years, I had been practicing how to be a writer, how to be a designer, how to speak. I just became habit, and I didn't remember why I knew how to do it. But when I became a professor, I had to remember the terms, remember the steps, so that I could teach my students how to follow them. I had to take my tacit knowledge and make it explicit. Also consider your organization's core capabilities, that which sets it apart from others. It may be experience among the staff or a willingness to diversify skill sets. It could be something as simple as your physical location and reach in the market. Knowing this can help persuade the decision makers. Lastly, don't be afraid of brainstorming and shared problem-solving meetings. This is a great way to gain new perspectives and share knowledge. You also must make sense of your environment. Determine the atmosphere in which you work. Remember the chapter on innovation. Do you work in an environment in which leadership is open to change and new ideas? Does your organization have a very strict hierarchy with lots of channels? Do you have a Model 1 supervisor who will only put forth ideas if they come straight from him? Take a moment to walk a mile in your boss's shoes to see if you can gain his or her perspective and to determine which may or may not work in persuasion. And seek advice and other opinions. And continue to research. Remember, you will never stop learning. Even if this idea is rejected, the next may be the one that gets you Employee or Manager of the Year.